Right now, all across the country, there are millions of people, over 60, checking their blood pressure the exact same way. They wrap the cuff around their arm, they wait for the beep, and the moment the numbers appear, their eyes go straight to the top number. If the top number looks okay, they relax. They think, good, I'm fine today. And a huge number of them have it completely backwards. Because there is a video going around right now, watched by hundreds of thousands of people, telling seniors something that sounds smart and is actually dangerous. It tells you to stop worrying about the top number and to watch the bottom number instead, because the bottom number is what predicts a stroke. It's confident. It's convincing. And it has it almost perfectly upside down. I need you to hear this clearly, because getting it wrong could cost you. So take a breath and let me show you what the actual research says. The studies with tens of thousands of real people. And by the end of the next few minutes, you'll understand your own blood pressure better than most people ever will. Including, I'm sorry to say, the people making those other videos. Let's start with the lie. The claim spreading around is that your diastolic number, the bottom one, is the real predictor of stroke after 60, and that the systolic number, the top one, matters less. It sounds clever precisely because it's the opposite of what you'd expect, and we're all wired to believe that the surprising, secret answer must be the true one. That's exactly why it spreads. It feels like insider knowledge. But feeling like the truth and being the truth are two very different things. Here is what decades of actual research show, and I want to give you the real studies, by name, so you never have to just take my word for it, or anyone's. The Framingham Heart Study is one of the longest-running, most respected heart studies in the history of medicine. It has followed thousands of people for generations, and when researchers analyzed that data, they found something remarkable. In adults over the age of 60, if you knew only the systolic number, the top one, you could correctly classify that person's blood pressure stage 99% of the time. 99% from the top number alone. But if you knew only the diastolic number, the bottom one, you were right just 66% of the time. Think about what that means. The number those videos are telling you to focus on, the bottom one, is the less reliable of the two for people your age. And the number they're telling you to ignore is the one that gets it right almost every single time. It doesn't stop there. In people over 50 with high blood pressure, researchers found that for every small rise in the systolic number, the stroke risk climbed measurably in both 5-year and 10-year windows. And the diastolic number? In that same group, it showed no meaningful link to stroke risk on its own. Let me say that again, because it's the exact reverse of what you're being told. The top number tracked with stroke. The bottom number, by itself, did not. So why does this happen? Why does the top number become so important as we age? Because it's not random. There's a real, physical reason, and once you understand it, you'll never forget which number to watch. When you're young, your arteries are soft and flexible, like a fresh rubber garden hose. They stretch with each heartbeat and spring back. But as the decades pass, arteries naturally stiffen. They become less like a soft hose and more like a rigid metal pipe. And here's the key. When your heart pushes blood into a stiff, rigid pipe, the pressure at the top of each beat, the systolic pressure, shoots up higher because the pipe can't flex to absorb it. Meanwhile, the bottom number, the diastolic, often stays flat or even drifts down. That's why, after 60, a rising top number is your body waving a flag. It's the single clearest sign of the artery stiffening that leads to stroke. The top number isn't noise. For a senior, it's the main event. Now, I could stop here, and I'd already be more accurate than the videos with hundreds of thousands of views. But I'm not going to do to you what they did. I'm not going to swing you to one extreme and tell you the bottom number is worthless, because that would just be a new lie replacing the old one. And you deserve the whole truth, not a more convenient half of it. So here is the honest, complete picture. The bottom number does still matter in specific ways, and I want you to know them. If your bottom number drops too low, especially below 60, that can be a real concern of its own. Your heart muscle gets much of its own blood supply during that resting phase, the diastolic phase, and if that pressure falls too far, blood flow to the heart can suffer. This matters most for people taking several blood pressure medications, where the drugs bring the top number down nicely but drag the bottom number down too far along with it. If that's you, if your bottom number is regularly under 60, that's worth a conversation with your doctor about your medication. And there's one more number, a hidden one, that the loud videos never even mention, and it might be the smartest thing you learned today. It's called your pulse pressure. It's simply the gap between your two numbers, top minus bottom. If your reading is 150 over 70, your pulse pressure is 80. Why does that gap matter? Because a wide gap is a direct sign of those stiffening arteries we talked about. And in the systolic hypertension in the elderly program, a major study of older adults, researchers found that for every 10-point increase in that pulse pressure gap, the risk of stroke rose by around 24%. That gap is one of the truest windows into your stroke risk that exists, and almost nobody is watching it. So look at your own numbers with fresh eyes now. It was never about picking the top number or the bottom number, like choosing a team. It's about reading them together as a story. A high top number tells you about the force and the stiffness. A very low bottom number tells you about strained blood flow. And the gap between them tells you how much your arteries have hardened. That's the full report your body hands you every single time you put on that cuff. Most people only ever read one word of it. Now let me make this genuinely useful for you tonight in plain steps. First, when you check your pressure, stop looking at only one number. Read both and do the simple subtraction. Top minus bottom, and notice the gap. If that gap is getting wide, wider than about 60, that's worth mentioning to your doctor, calmly, at your next visit. Second, for most seniors, the top number is the one to keep a steady eye on over time. Not to panic over a single high reading, everyone gets those. But if the top number is trending up over weeks and months, that is the signal that deserves attention, not the one to wave off. Third, and I need to say this clearly, do not change, stop, or adjust any blood pressure medication on your own because of a video. Not this one, and certainly not the ones that got this backwards. These numbers are a conversation between you and your doctor. What I'm giving you here isn't a reason to change your pills tonight. It's a reason to walk into your next appointment able to ask sharper questions than you ever have before. Bring your numbers. Bring your gap. Ask what they mean for you specifically. Because here's what I most want you to walk away with. You are not helpless in front of that little machine anymore. For years, maybe, you've stared at those two numbers with a vague sense of worry, not really knowing what they meant, trusting whoever sounded most confident on the internet. And a lot of those confident voices, it turns out, had it backwards. That's not your fault. You were never given the real explanation, only the loud one. But now you have it. Now you know that after 60, the top number is usually the one telling the clearest story about stroke. You know the bottom number still matters when it falls too low. And you know about the gap, the pulse pressure, that almost nobody ever taught you to see. That's not a small thing. That's you, reading your own body more clearly than the people who've been confidently telling you the wrong thing. So the next time you wrap that cuff around your arm and wait for the beep, you won't just glance at one number and hope. You'll read the whole story. And understanding that story, calmly, year after year, is one of the most powerful things you can do to protect yourself from a stroke and stay independent for as long as possible. If this cleared something up that nobody had ever explained to you properly, do two things for me. Hit that like button, because honestly, it helps this reach the next person who's been told to watch the wrong number. And subscribe, because I make videos that give you the real, researched answer, not the loudest one, even when the loudest one is winning. And share this with someone you love who checks their blood pressure and only ever looks at the top. Or worse, someone who saw one of those videos and started ignoring it. That one share could genuinely change how they protect themselves. Now, there's one more blood pressure myth out there that's even more common than this one, and it's quietly convincing seniors their readings are fine when they may not be. Next time, I'll show you exactly what it is and how to take a reading at home that you can actually trust. I'll see you there.